Physical media is kind of pointless now with especially with video games with the internet requirements and such. Physical media is a lost cause. Thank you. Goodbye. Now hold on. There are still some benefits and I respect if you personally choose to collect it even if you're not actually getting the entire thing. First off, print copies of books, as much as those are vulnerable to degradation through the air or water damage and such, they aren't a bad thing to have. Now, I'm still more of a screen reading kind of guy, an audiobook kind of guy, but it is good to have a copy of the book that you own. You don't own the actual book itself. That's actually something that really gets on my nerves with the physical media collectors I've watched when they say you own the movie, you own the book, you own the series. No, you own a copy of it. So if you buy a Blu-ray of let's say Wicked, you own a disc that houses a copy of it that can be played back on a Blu-ray player without an internet connection. Whereas if you buy it on the digital store, you own it in the sense that you have a very long-term license to it as long as you have the access to the account. And if you watch it through Peacock or Prime Video when it moves there in July, you get wa- you're paying for access to watch it as long as they host it. Again, to be clear, you don't own the movie Wicked. Like you can't just go around doing whatever you want with the intellectual property. Yeah, you can sell it on the secondhand market at a loss, and you can still show it to friends and family or hand it to a friend or family member. But honestly, it's pretty pointless. Oh, also legally, you can't. I'm pretty sure the FBI warning also includes things about not being able to charge money for watching it in a setting, except unless without special permission. Like back in the mid 2000s when the old Showcase Cinema would host the Bookworm Wednesdays throughout July and August. The movies would be played straight off a DVD of the movie because these were older movies that were shown on the big screen after you brought in a book report and then the parent parent or supervising adult was allowed in as what to the theater as well. I'm pretty sure that they had to go through some kind of licensing agreement with the rights holder of the movie. They can't just go around and do that. But anyway, getting back to personal consumer market, physical media, it's a lost cause because I see no difference between disk scratches or disk rot and licensing agreements expiring or the servers collapsing and no longer being around. Now, assuming it's not a societal collapse, it is more than fair game to be like, what the hell? But if there's a societal collapse or something because of it, like say a Last of Us situation with cordyceps jumping to humans, then I think you have bigger problems to work than whether you can watch a movie or a show. Same thing with video games, because what got me thinking about this was the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct and the reveal of the cartridges that basically authorize you to download the game that basically turns it into a glorified unlock key like discs for the PS4 or an Xbox for the PlayStation and Xboxes since the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One respectively. Because the way those work is the game is installed into the system from the disc before you can actually play it. It allows for faster load times, I hear, or so that's not as insanely slow because apparently reading a disc takes a lot longer than reading a cartridge. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's probably some Switch 2 games, not every single one of them. And then a lot of video games, like the latest Call of Duties, have as little as 72 megabytes of a 100 gigabyte video game on the disc itself, and the rest of it is an update. And the internet is why updates are allowed to exist and why you get broken games on day one. It's why I don't usually play new video games on day one. I mean, God of War Ragnarok ran pretty well when I got that on day one. So did Tears of the Kingdom, but Nintendo doesn't usually have this kind of thing happen to them. Scarlet and Violet were an outlier. But anyway, getting back to the idea of physical media, again, to counter many points, you don't own the game itself. You own a copy of the game, you own a physical item that has some of the game on it. And then you don't have the full experience on it because you don't have the DLC that might be added on to it later. So, the version of Pokemon Scarlet or Violet that plays when you put the cartridge into it is probably the buggy mess, and then the updates are what make it playable enough. Not perfect, but I liked Pokemon Scarlet and Violet when I started playing through them in 2024. And when I replayed Scarlet more in depth this year, and even Sword to an extent. Yes, I admit they are not perfect, but I can live with it, and I can accept the impermanence of it anyway, because again, license expiration or hardware failure, I see that as no different from disk rot or disk damage, or in the case of the Switch with cartridges, a cartridge being lost or damaged in some way, shape, or form. Not as easily damaged because they're a little more durable, but still lost because it's a portable system. I think you get the idea. Now, I used to be a physical media collector for movies, but once I realized that I was paying too much for both those and the streaming services, and I had to pick one, I chose the streaming services so that I could get the contemporary releases because this is when I was doing uh, Henry's Entertainment Journal, and my Saturday movie charter calls for the newest release of interest released up to a year ago. So that's why I chose the streaming services over the physical media, and I offloaded all the physical media I could to Savers because I don't need it. I don't want to set up my a Blu-ray player. I don't want to have to deal with the storage of it, the physical storage that is. Honestly, it's one of those things that requires more physical space, which would require you to have a larger living space, and you'd have a more finite ability for storage. Not that you have to buy every single movie that you ever think you might want to watch, but you get the idea. Me personally, I'm content with Prime Video and the third party options they happen to have that come and go, but they're there. And I got it as part of Amazon Prime, which I got for unrelated reasons, though I still pay $3 a month to remove the ads because fuck the advertisers. Anything not available through either of those two, I am more than happy to rent for as little as $4 or buy if I happen to see it on sale, like I did for American Beauty last month when it was on sale for $5. And again, if I'm not able to access it for whatever reason, I'm pretty sure that it's related to a problem that from where I have more important things to worry about than whether I can watch watch any of the 491 movies in there on that account. Plus the ones I hid because I realized I should never have bought those in the first place. You get the idea. So again, if cordyceps outbreak like from The Last of Us, it's nice to have discs out there if they survive anything, so that if you have something like Jacksonville, Wyoming, where you're able to set up running electricity and such, by all means, I'm not opposed to it existing, but I'm just trying to point out that in day to day life, physical media is kind of pointless now, with especially with video games, with the internet requirements and such. But hey, if you enjoy the process of getting the discs, doing the things, you're willing to accept the disc rot and scratch risk, by all means, I respect your decision, even if it's not the one I would make. If you enjoy collecting physical copies of video games, you have the space for it, you actively choose to do it, I respect your decision. It's not the decision I would make. Again, with updates and DLC being a thing, it's a lost cause. But I'm not going to try and stop you if it helps you sleep at night. So I'm going to leave it here for the video. You let me know in the comments down below if you think I'm out of touch or being unreasonable. Again, I'm not telling you not to collect physical media if you happen to enjoy it. I'm just pointing out that there's no real difference between disk rot slash scratch and license expirations and or server collapses or anything like that. Give this video a like, subscribe for daily videos, and I'll see you soon.